Hey everyone, this is Dimitri Pergamonic with MarketChameleon.com. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a tool to analyze a stock's earnings gap move. And the difference between an earnings move and an earnings opening gap move is that typically when we measure a stock's performance, we look at the previous day's close to the next day's close, and we take the difference to see the percent move for the stock from the day before. However, when a stock reports earnings, and we're going to use Apple here for an example, it will usually report the earnings after the market closes or before the market opens. So the report comes out in extended hours or in the hours that are non-regular trading hours. So what we want to do in this situation is measure how much the stock typically moves from the close right before it reports earnings to the initial opening price. So instead of the close to close, we were looking at the close to the opening price, which is that initial reaction or initial gap move during regular trading hours. And we want to measure those movements because once the market opens, that's really when you could start hedging either your option positions or start hedging your positions with the stock. And we want to see, well, what are the average opening gap moves? What did the stock tend to do? What are the high moves, low moves, and so forth? So we could strategize and try to estimate our potential risks and rewards in a given strategy. So let's start out with Apple. And here on a summary page that looks at Apple's earning moves from different perspectives. We're going to look at this one, opening gap moves. If you click on it, it takes you to a page, or if you go over here and select earnings opening gaps, it'll take you to the same page where it shows you the data for Apple's earning gap moves. And here we have the summary stats, and then we have a data in a table format that you could visually see the magnitude of the moves. So these bars represent the magnitude of the move. A green bar indicates that the move was positive at the open. A red bar indicates that the move was down at the open. So let's read some of these stats. For Apple, we see on average, Apple gapped plus or minus 3.9% on that initial move. And that's this line that goes all the way across through the data is showing us this average move of 3.9%. The biggest opening gap was 8.3%. The lowest gap was 0.7%, and the median gap is 3.6%. If we look at the simple averages, on average, the gap move was plus 1%, meaning that it was skewed a little bit towards the upside. Either their larger gap moves to the upside or the gap moves to the upside were more frequent. We see that the best gap move was plus 8.3%. The worst to the downside gap was down 8%. And the median return is 2.1%. If we wanted to see the frequency of the up moves versus down moves, this shows us that 61% of the time Apple stock gapped higher versus 39% the stock gapped lower. If we slide down a little bit further and we wanted to see the percentile rank of the gaps, we could enter a number in here, calculate, and this will show us the percentile rank of the number that we enter versus the historical gap moves. So for instance, right now it defaulted to 4.6%, which is looking at the most recent straddle, and the 68% is letting us know that 68% of the historical moves were below 4.6%, remember, in either direction. So this is looking at absolute returns. And if we were doing, for example, a straddle or strangle, and we wanted to see, you know, how frequently did Apple move by a certain amount in either direction, we could put it in here. And let's say we put in 6%, we recalculated, and then we could see that 79% of the historical gap moves were below 6%, 21% were higher. And that's how you would use this calculator. One more thing, if you want to narrow down the data, you could use these filters above. If you want to narrow it down by number of years, if you want to see just the most recent 2 years, if you click on that, it will recalculate all the stats and show you the data for the last 2 years. I'm going to come back to all. If you wanted to look at a particular quarter, for example, Apple's about to report third quarter earnings, you could come over here, select Q3, and then all the stats and the data will display the information for third quarter earnings. Remember, this is only looking at opening gap moves. Hopefully, this was helpful, everyone, and hope to see you guys in the next video.